Welcome, savages. Byron Katie, among other people, have said that no two people ever meet. And really, what she means is that first of all, there's no such thing as a people. A people is a label or a description of the mind, it's not an actual being. If you've been in the Sunday Zooms, I think this will make a lot more sense to you, but I'll try and flesh it out a little bit. All activity of mind is labels, is language, is words. It's not experience. There's a being having an experience, and then there's the mind that will label and describe everything. And we're so close to the mind that we think that the mind is us. um, I've covered this topic, many times, again and again, on Instagram of late, and probably in videos. To be honest, I actually don't remember. I was saying this to Karen last week. When I would scroll back through my Instagram and I'd read bits and pieces, I realized, Jesus Christ, like it's all the same thing, the same thing again and again. One, I don't really have any memory, so I don't really recall what the last thing was that I spoke about or wrote about. And the second thing is that I continue to get it again and again and again, and to get it deeper. So when I get it deeper and I get the realization, I then communicate it, forgetting that I got it, what I thought was deeper, last week or whenever it was. There's a being having an experience. There's something happening. And I don't know what that is. And when I seek to know what that is, immediately, obviously, I'm no longer a being having an experience. I'm now mind. And, if I ask probably all of you, are you your body? You'll say, no, 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 I'm a spiritual being having a human experience and all that stuff. I'll ask, are you your mind? And you'll say, no. But we're so close. We identify with the mind and body so close. There's no real space for a bit of perspective or a bit of depth, that we believe we are not the body and mind, but we are living with the body and mind all day long and identifying far too closely with it. So we become, in a sense, the people. No two people ever meet. We become one of the people because we think that's us. So, what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, especially over the last week, working, Karen was here. Thanks, Karen. She's probably back in Belgium now. She was here for the retreat, but also, with other people who've made contact with me, and I should say myself, my own perception of other people. So we're really looking through this veil. What is out there is quite hard to see, if there is anything out there, because we're looking through our stuff. It's a regular occurrence with people I work with who will say, you said this, maybe in a message with a client or in a video or something. And some things I just know immediately, I never said that, and sometimes I'd say, listen, can you find that and tell me, in my messages or whatever? Because I don't. So my point is, they're hearing something else. They're hearing something that I'm actually not saying. And at first, that's a bit of a challenge, because it's like, well, how the fuck do I communicate with people if they're not even hearing me, if they're hearing their own interpretation of what I say? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. If you've worked with me, you know that I just keep pushing. See, if you don't hear me the first 37 times, you might hear me 165th time. Generally, I just say the same thing. I'm just pushing through but it was that the last week was interesting to be able to realize on a deeper level that, communicating with the people, with the human, is pointless. It's only nurturing and developing the people, the human, and we're working away from the human. So that's a great realization for me, great awareness and that's, as I said, mostly in Zooms kind of over Christmas and that time, and as the new year started, was that we're in a stage where those who perhaps have followed me for quite a while some will part ways, and new people will appear. So if you've listened to me for, quite a while, or you've read articles and whatnot, and maybe they've resonated, you're entering a stage now where it's for you to feel the new stage or not. So the if I'm to communicate with your human, I may as well be giving you manifestation techniques, and I think, as we've covered sufficiently, over the last few years, that there's those two options. Do you want to live as your being, or do you want to live as mind? Do you want to use your mind to make your life better, to manifest direct your career, so that's just building up the human. And there's lots of smart people who have great techniques and great ways of working with that. And I would more and more encourage you to go and read them and listen to them and work with them. I don't do that. I don't do that. I manage with some of those techniques were really beneficial, and I managed to manifest things, blah, blah, blah. But, having come through that path, I see that there's a greater being to work with. There's a greater being to be and experience, to surrender to, and to allow that to unfold, as opposed to mind, the human ego, the people trying to generate an experience, trying to navigate an experience. So it takes what it takes to walk away from that. And I'm still, continually, surrender is a continual process. Is verb the right word? A continual act. It's not an initial, hey, I have surrendered. So the people, we're seeing what we want to see, or we're seeing what we need to see. But the problem arises when we don't realize we're seeing what we need to see. We're believing what we see. You're believing what the mind tells us, which actually is more important. We're believing what the mind tells us about what we hear or see. And that really is, I think it was last year or the year before, maybe, I made a video about gaslighting. That it's really helpful. It's really beneficial to undermine what that voice, what the mind is telling us, because it's untrue. It's an unraveling of seeing that it's not true. It's not reliable. It's not consistent. And that makes a lot of people very, very deeply angry. Especially when it threatens their long-held deep belief system, which is ultimately the ego. It's not true. I don't have time in a video now to kind of go into that, but that's ultimately where the work is on the Sundays, is experiencing the untruth of thought. That we are seeing what we need to see. If you're seeing someone or an experience that you really desire, or you really want, you're seeing yourself. So the more we think it's out there, the more trouble we're in. And eventually that gets burned out of us. Eventually we realize that it's not it's not unconditional love, it's conditional love. That we want that person to say a certain thing, be a certain way, love us a certain way, look a certain way, or want the job to be the way I want the job to be. And then as that begins to crumble, like, the heart breaks and we break down. It's a brilliant experience. But the quickest and easiest way through that is to get out of the mind as quickly as possible. Ultimately, we then begin to realize, hopefully, that the desire, attachment, interest, need for this experience or person is ultimately manifested and created by the mind. The mind has built up all these little fantasies and stories around this thing. And as it starts to crumble, we begin to realize that, hopefully, that, yeah, we put all this window dressing on a person, on a car, on a job, on a country, on a whatever, whenever you feel, right, that you're hoping to get to a place be it the relationship, the solid income, the all those things. You really want to have kids, you really want to get married, you really want to fall in love, you really want to travel to this country, you really want to emigrate, you really want to buy the house, whatever these things are, the more on the hook you are, the more danger you're in a sense. It's not danger, more pain you're going to face, because that has to that has to be burned out. So the liberation lies in actually going into the discomfort of it. And you'll notice perhaps how attached you may be to the thing, to the experience. There's a pull, and you want to go into the daydream, and you want to believe that you're making progress, and you want to believe that your things, oh, I'm going into the heart. And it's like, oh, those bad years are over. The more you need that, the more trouble you're in. That's it. And the quickest path to freedom is to actually turn around and go back into the discomfort, and I know, because I've realized I've realized a little more. I wouldn't say I've fully realized, but I've realized a little more in the past weeks that that's not going in for a lot of people, because they're listening through the veil of, there's still a conditioning and a brainwashing of that. Oh, but when I get to that place, it'll all be easier. Easier comes in being able to go into the pain. The challenges still come. I lived in the car for 4 years, came to Acapulco. So I know now, excuse me, that there was many who kind of thought, oh, his life has evolved. Yes, it has. The circumstances have changed, but the intensity of some of the challenges, say of being in the car or post being in the car, still get presented. It's up to me to surrender my power to these, or to be able to work through them. So being diagnosed, say, with cancer, I wasn't diagnosed with cancer, but I'm just using this as an example. If someone's diagnosed with cancer, like, that could be a fucking 10 out of 10. That could be a huge fucking life-changing anxiety and fucking energy that they have to face. But someone who comes out of the supermarket and their car doesn't start, or the car has a flat tire, believe it or not, that can be the same intensity for that person. There are people who have breakdowns, panic attacks on some seemingly very simple and small occurrences. Credit card gets denied. Bang. Oh my God, what the fuck is this? So it's not the experience. It's how much we surrender our power to the experience, or how much invested we may be in an alternative result. I was convinced the car would start. I was convinced I was healthy. I'm attached to the car starting and the tire being okay. I'm attached to living out for another 50 years. Maybe that's not going to happen. Life keeps coming. And ultimately, it is a part of my work that's not liked by a lot of people. And it's your ego that doesn't like it. The idea that this is continual work, the idea the shit's going to keep happening. It's our perception and our liberation that will decide how free we are, how bothered or not bothered by whatever it is presented. You're looking at the circumstance and the people, which is a label of the mind, through your ego's filter of what you like and dislike. We're free, and if little or less and less, and none of this is here, none of this filter is here, it's just an experience. Just looking at a being, looking at an image. As soon as I call a tire, a flat tire, it's something else. Oh, an experience coming up. You can only watch yourself and see how attached you are to comfort. Doesn't really matter what I say. As you start to feel a burn, feel intensity and pressure or stress, that shows you're attached to something, to an outcome, to a person, to an experience. That's what's got to get burned out. Anyway, retreat is over. We're well into the new year. Join us in Sunday Zoom. I love it. It's great. Come be with us. Thanks for listening.